One of the things that can be contentious during a separation or divorce is the custody of pets. Stacey Comer has more on this week's episode of Healthy, Thriving Family After Divorce.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us once again this week. Stephanie is a lawyer, mediator, and online educator with Hank Divorce Law and Mediation offices in both Edmonton and Lloydminster. Stephanie, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Stacey. Nice to see you.
Well, we're switching it up a little bit this week, talking about a subject that I don't believe we've talked about in the times that we've been doing these interviews, and that's pets and how it works with a situation where you have separation or divorce. So the first question, Stephanie, are pets treated like children when it comes to separation and divorce, or how does that work?
Well, it's a hard one because pets are living beings, but at the same time, they are not children, and so there's this sort of gap in how I think how pets are treated in a separation and divorce. So there really is no such thing as custody of a pet like there is parenting of a child. A pet is considered personal property in a separation and divorce, and so that means that the rules of property division actually apply. It's a very difficult way to look at a loving member of your family and how they would be treated, but that's how the law is treats them. So we're going to hopefully today look at some options for resolution, and so that we can treat them a little bit more like the beings that they are, the family members that they are.
If it does come down to a situation where, I guess I'll use the term parents, pet parents, have to go to court because they can't come to an agreement, what does that look like?
Well, just like resolving a property dispute is, okay, there's a house, who's going to keep the house, or there's a business, or there's a bank account. It's the same thing. It's who will the pet owner be going forward. So it's not as much about sharing the pet, it's about ownership to the court. So how does that ownership get determined? There's lots of factors, and I'm going to give a few examples here, but of course it's a non-exhaustive list. But there are things like whose name is on the receipt for the purchase of the pet. Is there any evidence that the pet was gifted to one of the spouses? If you looked at the veterinarian's office, whose name would be there at the vet's office, and who generally takes care of the pet? So of course this is not an exhaustive list, but it gives you a flavor for the kinds of things that the court would look at.
And ideally, Stephanie, obviously, you don't want to have to take it as far as court. So I guess what are the other options for people who have pets that are going through separation or divorce if they really want to avoid court?
Well, just like in any dispute when you're separating, you don't have to go to court. There are other options. We've talked about these in previous episodes ad nauseum. Things like mediation, there's collaborative divorce, there's do it yourself, and then, of course, there's divorce court, which is what we're trying to avoid here. So you have the same resolution options for property disputes and parenting disputes as you do for pet disputes. So if you're getting a divorce professional involved, mediation or the collaborative divorce process would be really options that give you a little bit of professional assistance, but not in such a way that there is a third party decision maker like a judge that's going to implement these harsh rules like let's treat our pets like property. So we want to, focus on the goals like how do we maintain a relationship with this beloved pet rather than choosing a winner and a loser.
So, what can people do that are in relationships now, even if there's no plans for separation or divorce, but when it comes to dealing with pets and, in the inevitable fact that something could happen, even if it's not separation and divorce, there could be, death or anything like that. Is there something that people can be doing now in relationships to kind of prepare for dealing with pets?
Well, most people, when they get married or they start living together, they don't necessarily plan for separation or divorce by way of any kind of a formalized written agreement. And same goes for pets. When people are living together, married or not, and they get a pet, they don't typically plan for what would happen in the event of a separation. But I would highly recommend that you do just like I would recommend that you do for your assets and debts division. I would certainly recommend that you write down your intentions when the pet is purchased as to what would happen in the event of a separation or divorce. So things like, would you continue to share the pet or not? Will major decisions be shared? Sounds very much like parenting, but it really is. There will be things like surgeries, healthcare, dental care, nutrition, discipline for the pet. Yes, even discipline. Will the pet have a time sharing schedule just like children? And what about the finances? Of course, it's very expensive to raise pets. And so, what happens with vet bills, food, boarding, training, and other kinds of expenses?
All right, Stephanie. Well, this has been a very interesting topic once again. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will be back to talk to you again next week.
Nice to see you, Stacy.